Hey guys, welcome to week 21 of Samachar Manthan. This lecture will cover environment and science and tech. The first topic is bacteria to degrade toluene. While this is mainly important for prelims, in mains you can use this particular news as an example of bioremedial measures to control oil spills. Researchers from University of Delhi and IIT BHU have found that this particular bacteria, that is Acinetobacter juni, has got toluene degrading capabilities. This bacteria was isolated from soil samples. This means that this bacteria exists in soil. About toluene, it is a kind of petrochemical waste and it can cause serious health problems. Then the next important points are what is interesting about the bacteria. So this particular bacteria changed the morphology of toluene to remove its toxicity. Although this point won't be asked, but it is just an extension of the logic, like how it has got toluene degrading capabilities. So it basically changes the morphology of toluene, and it does this in aerobic biodegradation, that is it does it through aerobic biodegradation process. That will be all in this topic. The next topic is 20-kilometer Assam bridge to be India's longest. This again is a prelim specific issue. The name of the bridge is Dhubri Fulbari Bridge. It will be India's longest river bridge and will be built across the Brahmaputra. It will connect Dhubri, which is in Assam, to Fulbari, which is in Meghalaya. I would advise you to open your atlases and locate these two places, that is Dhubri and Fulbari. Identify the exact location in the context of the Brahmaputra, that is where along the Brahmaputra are these two places. You can also locate the other physical features like nearby hills, other tributaries of Brahmaputra, if any. So that can be added information. The next important point is that the bridge will be funded by JICA or JICA. You must have heard of this news in the previous months that JICA has coordinated with the government of India for infrastructure development programs in the Northeast. So this will be one of those programs, and JICA has given a loan for this project. The next point important is the benefit of the bridge. So one of the benefits is that it will complete the missing link of NH 127B from Assam to Meghalaya. So this is important point and it can be asked in your prelims. This page also has got interesting information. The first is that there is something known as Narayanan Bridge near the Dhubri Fulbari proposed bridge. So this is just one of the bridges, not exactly in any of the longest bridges list, but you need to know that Narayanan Bridge is near the proposed Dhubri Fulbari bridge. Then we have the existing longest river bridge in India is between Dhola and Sadia, and both of these locations are in Assam. The next important point is that in Arunachal Pradesh also we have a bridge over the Dibang, which is second only to Dhola Sadia bridge. So this bridge in Arunachal over the Dibang, this is the second longest bridge in India as of now. Once the Dhubri Fulbari bridge is built, it will be the third longest. Then we have Patna Hajipur bridge, which is over the Ganga. This is in the list of longest bridges. So what you need to know is the name of the bridge and the river over which it exists, and also the nature of the bridge. Nature of the bridge will mean whether it is a road bridge, whether it is railways as well. So that also can be asked. The next is Bandra Worli Sea Link. This bridge is in Mumbai and is India's longest bridge over sea. Now this is important because all other bridges are built across rivers, but this bridge is India's longest bridge over the sea. Then we have another bridge which is a river bridge only, but the important point is that it is India's longest rail cum road bridge. Till now, whatever bridges we have seen are all road bridges, including the Bandra Worli Sea Link. This is India's longest rail cum road bridge, which is over the river Brahmaputra, and it connects Dibrugarh, which is in Assam, to Pasighat, which is in Arunachal. I would advise you to open your atlases, locate these two places, and also refer the corresponding physical map. The next, again, is a prelim specific issue. It is Mission Mercury. How will twin probes reach there and why? This is a joint mission of the European Space Agency ESA and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency or JAXA. The launch vehicle is Ariane 5 rocket and it was launched from French Guiana. It is an unmanned mission. The name is Bepi Colombo, and it will be carrying the launch vehicle, that is, will be carrying the two probes. The important thing is that this is Europe's first mission to Mercury and the first to send two spacecrafts at the same time. Next, we have the names of the two orbiters. The first is ESA's Mercury Planetary Orbiter or MPO, and the second is JAXA's Mercury Magnetospheric Orbiter or MMO. These two are orbiters. Orbiters means they will be orbiting the target planet, that is Mercury. But because Mercury is very close to the Sun, the enormous gravity of the Sun makes it very difficult for these to stay in a stable orbit, and that is why ultimately they will have to have a controlled fall and they will not be returning to Earth. The next topic again is a prelim specific issue. It is about a joint air exercise between India, Japan, and USA. The name of the exercise is COPE India Air Exercise. Traditionally, this has been a bilateral exercise between India and USA and was first conducted in 2004. But the important point is that it is not a regular exercise. It is held only intermittently. Intermittently means at irregular intervals. So, this is something which is important and can be asked in prelims. The other point is that USA and Japan already share a very close defense relationship, and after the signing of the Comcasa, USA and India also share a closer defense relationship. So that is the defense relation between India and USA also has been strengthened since the signing of the Comcasa. So, as a result, USA proposed the idea that this particular exercise, that is COPE India, can be made a trilateral exercise from now on. So, this is the whole background. Then, the three countries already conduct a joint naval exercise by the name of Malabar. So this is also important. We have already covered Malabar in the previous lectures, so I will not be repeating it. Please go through these points to revise. The next topic is China's melting glacier draws tourists amid climate worries. At first glance, this topic seems absurd from the point of view of exam, but the concept of third pole is important, and in mains it can be asked in the form of impact of global warming on third pole and how it could affect Asia or India. So, a variety of questions can be asked about the third pole. The first can be about its meaning. So, as the name suggests, it is just like the other two poles, a cold, ice covered piece of land. The next question can be about its geographical location. So, third pole, unlike the other two poles, which are located at the northern and southern extremities of the Earth, the third pole is located in Central Asia and is the world's third largest store of ice. This is also important information. And it encompasses the Himalaya Hindu Kush mountain ranges and the Tibetan Plateau. We just need to come to this picture to understand the geographical location and what all areas it covers. So, the region that you see in white color is the third pole. The most prominent area is the Tibetan Plateau. Then we have the Karakoram ranges, Pamirs. We also have the Himalayas. So, all these areas cover the third pole. Then we come to the next question that can be asked, which is proofs that the third pole is actually facing threat. So points 3 to 7 are those proofs. Scientists have conducted research and have got evidence of disturbing global warming trends in the third pole. uh, Temperatures have increased by 1.5 degrees in this region. Glaciers have shrunk, they have lost their a lot of their mass. Then we are also getting the rate at which glaciers in the third pole are melting is very, very high. So all these proofs are there. Then we come to the next question that can be asked is about the importance or significance of the third pole. The first point is that it can affect the lives of about 1.3 billion people, affect the lives directly and indirectly. 10 of Asia's largest rivers begin here. Now, this point can be asked in both prelims as well as in mains. In mains, of course, it will be one of the points under the heading significance of third pole, but in prelims, they can ask you about these rivers, and we can go to this picture again to see what these rivers are. So we can see Sir Darya, Amu Darya, Indus, 3 rivers, Ganges 4, Brahmaputra 5, Irrawaddy 6, Salween 7, Mekong 8, Yangtze 9, and Yellow 10. So these are the 10 rivers which are sourced from the third pole. Very, very important point from prelims angle. Then we have because civilization is directly related to water supply, this third pole being the source of these 10 rivers can affect billions and billions of people. So this is the point. Then it can affect people directly, it can affect people indirectly as well. So this point covers both of them. Please go through it. And lastly, the impact could be in a way, because the glaciers will be melting initially, we'll see more flooding because the rivers will be swelled, and this will lead to intense flooding. But eventually, as the glaciers wither away, we will see reduced water flow and ultimately drought and desertification. The next heading is global warming is not the only cause. It is one of the most prominent causes, but it is not the only cause of the changing climate in the third pole region. Let us see the other cause. This point gives us the other cause, which is dust and pollution from car exhausts and coal burners is settling on the ice, and this is causing it to absorb the rays of the sun. So basically, you can say that this is what is technically known as black carbon in simple language. So that will be all in this heading. The next topic is Earth's inner core is solid but is softer than previously thought. Now, you must have seen this picture hundreds of times, so it is very common, and I won't be explaining to you all these different things. But in my opinion, there is one question that can be considered in this picture, and that is the size of the various zones of the Earth. So, in descending order, we will say that the mantle is the largest of them all. So, we can write M for mantle. Then we have the outer core. So, let us write the outer core. Then we have the inner core. And lastly, we have the crust. So, this is something which can be asked in prelims. Other than that, this is a very mundane picture, nothing else to explain. In this topic, I expect a question only in prelims, and that question should be around shear waves or J waves, and of course, the nature of the core, which we'll be discussing later. But shear waves or J waves are a new variety, a new kind of waves which the scientists have found evidence of, and these waves are different from the regular ones, the conventional waves, that is the P waves, S waves, love waves, and Rayleigh waves. The shear waves are different from all of them, and in mains, I don't expect a question on this, although these waves are important and should be asked, but that question will come only sometime later, because as of now, there is no information available on the internet. I've scouted the internet for hours to get information about details about J waves or shear waves, but I failed to get any sort of convincing information as of now. So this is only a very recent development, cross-cutting geology, you may say. So a question in mains will come once more information is available, but in prelims, yes, it can be asked in the form of whatever information we have right now. So this discovery, that is of a solid but softer inner core, was made by scientists of Australian National University, and they have detected shear waves or J waves. These waves were instrumental in identifying the softer nature of the inner core. And the important thing about these waves is that they can only travel through solid objects. This means that J waves will be found only in the solid inner core. If we see the structure of the earth, that is the core, we have the inner core which is solid, and beyond the inner core we have the outer core which is liquid. Now, because J waves can only travel in solid medium, only the inner core will be their source, and they cannot escape the inner core. Although what I am saying is just a logical thing out of the information available, this thing what I am saying is not available on the internet. Nothing has been written about it, but I think this is a decent inference to make, and this is what we can say about the nature of J waves. The second thing is that the inner core shares some elastic properties with gold and platinum. This is very important. Until now, we had nickel and iron, but it has been found that even gold and platinum properties can be found in inner core. So, can be asked in prelims. Then another point about J waves is that they are extremely feeble, extremely tiny, and very difficult to detect. With this discovery, they have found evidence of their existence. The scientists have found evidence, and it was first predicted that the inner core was solid in the 1930s and 40s. So this was the time when huge developments were taking place in geology. Then the next important point is that a similar technique was used by the same team to measure the thickness of ice in Antarctica. And the next important point is that understanding the inner core has got direct consequences for generation and maintenance of the geomagnetic field. So, studying the inner core will reveal more about the geomagnetic field of the Earth. So, this is something that can be asked in exam. The next topic is Green Climate Fund allots $1 billion for poor nations. Availability of finance is one of the biggest hurdles in the success of international efforts in combating climate change. And in this context, the Green Climate Fund becomes extremely important. We can expect a dedicated question in both prelims as well as in mains. Now, this was in news because the UN backed Green Climate Fund has approved more than $1 billion for poor countries and has sanctioned 19 new projects. So, this was decided at the meeting in Bahrain. This is why it was in news. More important is that what exactly is the Green Climate Fund? So, it is a fund based within the framework of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the overall aim is to assist developing countries in adaptation and mitigation. So, this is the meaning and overall aim. Then, this point, that is the second point, tells where the GCF is based. The third point gives its objective in more detail, so you can go through this point. It's pretty similar to the first one itself. The Green Climate Fund was first mentioned during the COP15, which was held in 2009 in Copenhagen, and it was formally established in 2010 at the Cancun Conference of Parties. Coming to how the GCF has benefited India, it has approved approximately 43 million US dollars for enhancing climate resilience. The next topic is why this funding is important. So, the first and the broadest point is that it will help India in reaching its goals outlined in the Paris Agreement as well as in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The second point is that it is going to help India in enhancing resilience and adaptability and will also reduce emissions. The biggest beneficiary will be India's coastal areas, which are amongst the most vulnerable in the world. Then benefits will also accrue for other marginalized groups like women, young people, elderly, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes. Coming to specific threats which India faces, the first is India's coastline, which is amongst the most affected by climate change globally. Then there will be extreme climate variability in the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, and we can thus expect increasing frequency and intensity of cyclones and extreme weather events. Uh, a 2-degree change in temperature, that is, a 2-degree rise in temperature, will make India's monsoon highly unpredictable. The next point talks about what will happen if the temperature rises by 4 degrees Celsius, so you can read it yourself. Then the next point is about loss of mangrove cover and an increase in sea level. So these are the threats. The next heading is the benefits of the projects that would be undertaken with the help of the fund. It is basically a reiteration of the previous points only. So the first benefit will be CO2 sequestration. The second benefit would be achievement of the 2030 agenda. The next would be strengthening of coastal management and infrastructure. Further, community involvement would be there. And lastly, local knowledge would be strengthened. The next topic is Harit Diwali Swasth Diwali campaign. This is not a very important topic. It is being covered because it was in news. And in prelims, I don't expect a question on this topic, but in mains, you can use it as an example in air pollution related efforts. So, this particular campaign is targeted at discouraging people from bursting crackers, and it is an initiative of the Ministry of Environment and Forests. It was initiated in 2017 in Delhi, where it was extremely successful. So, in 2017, it was extremely successful, and therefore, this year it has been extended to pan India, all over India, and it has been merged with the Green Good Deed movement, which is a social mobilization movement for conservation and protection of environment. And the Pan India movement encourages all schools and colleges to be a part of this campaign. The next topic is Third Decadal International Year of Reefs. The name of the conference is STAPCOR, and its full form is the International Conference on Status and Protection of Coral Reefs. The theme for 2018 is Reef for Life, and the conference has been inaugurated by the Union Environment Ministry at Bangaram Coral Island of Lakshadweep. Coming to the background of STAPCOR, in the year 1998, intense coral bleaching had happened internationally, and this led to concerns regarding conservation of corals, which ultimately led to the foundation of STAPCOR. And it was decided that an international conference would be held every 10 years. So, this is important that STAPCOR conferences are held every 10 years. So, 1998 was the year of intense coral bleaching. So 1997 was the first International Year of the Reef. This is given here. 2007 was the second International Year of the Reef. This is given here. And 2018 is the third International Year of the Reef. So these three are important. The goals of all of these have remained more or less similar. So we don't really need to go into these points, but we just need to see the goals of 2018 STAPCOR. So the first is strengthen awareness about the ecological, economic, social, and cultural value of coral reefs. Then improve understanding of the threats which coral reefs face, and finally generate urgent action regarding preservation of corals. So that will be all in this topic. The next topic is Supreme Court bans sale of Bharat Stage 4 vehicles from 2020. So this is a topic that is important for both prelims as well as for mains. In prelims, they can ask you about BS standards, and in mains, besides BS standards, they can ask you about the broader theme of air pollution and vehicular pollution in particular. So coming to why this topic was in news, so recently, Supreme Court has banned the sale of vehicles which conform to BS4 standards in the entire country from April 1, 2020. That is, all throughout India, every vehicle that conforms to BS4 would be banned. Its sale would not be allowed from 1st of April 2020. BS standards are basically emission norms regarding air pollutants, and these are instituted by the government of India. Supreme Court reached this decision because 15 out of 20 most polluted cities in the world are in India, and pollution is not a problem just in Delhi and NCR, but all throughout the country. Pollution has become a menace, and the decision to ban BS4 standards is going to help in curbing pollution. And now BS5 is not there. From BS4 directly we are going to shift to BS6. So the first point is Bharat 6 fuel is cleaner than Bharat 4, and as we have already seen, it will be applied from April 1 of 2020. The cutoff dates are important. They can be asked in prelims, so you need to be very, very careful. With Bharat 6, the norms would be implemented from April 1, 2020. Uh, Bharat 4 norms started in April 2017. So April 2017 is Bharat 4, and in 2016 it was decided that Bharat 5 norms would be skipped, and directly Bharat 6 norms would be adopted by 2020. So at least with regards to this, the government is on track. And coming to back to basics, what are BS norms? Very, very important, can be asked in mains specifically. So these are norms instituted by the government to regulate output of air pollutants from internal combustion engines. The important thing is that India follows similar norms to European or Euro emission standards with a time lag of 5 years. So that means that if we have Bharat 6 norms by 2020, similar Euro norms were established or were implemented in 2015 itself. The next part is this infographic. This is important and can be asked in your prelims and in mains. So, Bharat 5 requires a specific fitment in the vehicle's engine, and Bharat 6 needs one more. So, basically, it tells you about the fitment that is needed and the challenge in adopting or in integrating that fitment in the present structure of the vehicle. So go through this infographic. All these points, they are important and will help you in your mains, especially in science and tech in GS3. This part is simply a roadmap of the shift from Bharat 4 to Bharat 6. Not really important, but if you are too interested, you can read it. The next topic is emission norms in India. It is best to write these points in the form of a timeline. So you begin with 1991, when the emission norms were first introduced, and in 1996 these were tightened in the sense that the auto manufacturers were required to introduce catalytic converters in the engines of their vehicles. Also, fuel specifications were first notified in April 1996, and these were to be implemented by 2000, the year 2000. But the landmark Supreme Court order of April 1999 forced the center government to notify BS1 and BS2 norms. Please note, the norms of the 1996 notification may not be as tough as BS norms. So after Supreme Court order, BS1 and 2 norms were introduced. BS2 was for NCR and BS1 was for the rest of India. Then you have similar improvements happening in April 2005 and in April 2010. So please go through the points. They are simple, factual information. Coming to the next heading, that is need for emission norms. Why should we have tougher emission norms? The most important issue is pollution. So you need to know the major pollutants of vehicular emissions. So these are fine particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, etc. Please go through the points. Then you have these pollutants severely affecting health of the people. Many cases of premature deaths, disease like asthma, etc., have been taking place. And the other reason is that the emission standards till now, they are not being followed uniformly, especially by commercial passenger vehicles and freight carriers. The next topic is why is it important to upgrade these norms? The first and the most important point is of air pollution. This we have already seen. Air pollution is causing a huge amount of problems in terms of health of the people. Many diseases are coming up. So, combating air pollution requires controlling vehicular emissions, and this is thus the first reason. The second reason is competition. Competition in the sense that other developing countries like China have already switched to Euro 5 emission standards equivalent norms. India is falling back, and because of this lag, investments suffer. Because if the pollution is too much, investments won't come in the country, and for that also we need better standards. The next topic is challenges before the government. So this is very, very important because most of you will find it difficult to write about what are the challenges which the government is facing in introducing these norms. So the first is about the ability of the oil marketing companies to provide BS6 standard fuel. Okay, this is the first problem. The second problem is from the front of the auto firms, automakers. This is because two critical components, which are diesel particulate filter and selective catalytic reduction module, we have seen this in the infographic also in the last slide. So these would have to be adapted to India's peculiar conditions. India's peculiar conditions in the sense that the driving speeds, the running speeds in India are much slower than compared to Europe and US, and thus these two equipments, these two components have to be made according to India's needs, which is going to take time. So these are the two challenges. The last challenge is a fundamental policy drawback. This means that while the government enforces tougher standards in bigger cities, in nearby towns the older, less efficient standards continue, and this means that people simply start buying vehicles from the nearby towns. Say, for example, if in Delhi NCR the government enforces Bharat Stage 6, for example, and in the other nearby towns which are outside the Delhi NCR region, they are allowed to run on, say, BS4 standard. So people will simply go and buy vehicles from those nearby towns and run them in Delhi because of interstate operability. And this has got twin problems, because on the one hand the BS6 standard vehicles, which are more expensive, they don't sell, and this makes the automakers reluctant to make those vehicles in the first place because of the losses that accrue. And on the other hand, the pollution problem remains more or less unabated, because the older, less efficient vehicles continue to ply on the Delhi NCR roads. So this remains a challenge which needs to be tackled. Hopefully BS6 norms won't be a problem, because government, the Supreme Court has said that in all cities in India, in all across India, BS6 standards would be implemented simultaneously. So that is good news. The next topic is what will change after the new norms kick in. So basically, how is BS6 superior? So important for science and tech in GS3. Uh, Coming to sulfur concentrations is lesser in BS6. Then we have lesser concentration of carbon monoxide, unburnt hydrocarbons, nitrous oxide, particulate matter. All these technical terms, all these pollutants, it is important that you mention them in your answer if the question asks you about BS4 versus BS6. Then On the other hand, cost of production of fuel is going to rise by a slight amount, and also the vehicles are going to be costly because new equipment is supposed to be fitted in the vehicles. Because the cost of production of fuel increases, the retail prices are also going to increase, and this is a problem for any government, especially when inflation is happening. So this needs to be tackled carefully. Coming to way ahead, so it just says that pollution has become a big problem, and it is imperative that we shift from BS4 to BS6 now, even when the cost of fuel and vehicles goes up because of public health concerns and investment related issues, sustainable development related issues. So keeping all those things in mind, we should move to BS6 standards. This part contains a few points which can be asked in prelims. So, the original plan was that BS5 standard would be implemented from 2019 and BS6 would be implemented from 2024. But now we see that BS6 is being implemented from 2020 itself. So, there has been an advance of 4 years, and this is in line with the promise that India made at the UN climate conference in Paris in 2015. So, finally, this is the end of this topic. The next is a very important and interesting topic. It reads, Indian monsoons influence Atlantic hurricanes. So, a study has been done recently about the link between hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean and Indian monsoons. And it has concluded that whenever Indian monsoons are strong, the tendency of the hurricanes to make landfall increases. Now, landfall is a technical term which means the hurricane would hit the coastal regions or the coastal land. So, there's a direct relation between the intensity of Indian monsoons and the probability of hurricanes to make landfall. Whenever Indian monsoons are normal or less than normal, the hurricanes will move northwards in the Atlantic Ocean and would not hit land. So they will simply move northwards and dissipate without hitting land. So this study is basically about the course or direction of the hurricanes. Now, we have these pictures here. So these are going to be helpful in clarifying what we are studying. So we have seen that whenever Indian monsoons are stronger, the hurricanes would move westwards, that is, they have a higher tendency to hit land. So we are here in the Atlantic Ocean, this is the Atlantic Ocean, and if suppose this circle itself is a hurricane, stronger Indian monsoon will mean this hurricane moving westwards towards the Americas and making landfall. So this is the basic outcome of the study, and it has got links with the subtropical high pressure belt. Now, this is a picture. The H that you see here is the subtropical high pressure belt, and we are in the Atlantic Ocean. So, whenever we have stronger Indian monsoons, the subtropical belt, that is the subtropical high pressure, increases. This high pressure leads to easterly winds. Let me write again. Intense high pressure leads to easterly winds. Now, winds are like nationality. If you are an Indian, you come from India, that is why you are called Indian. So the winds which come from the east are known as easterly, and easterly winds flow from the east towards the west. So the intense high pressure leads to easterly winds, and these winds push the hurricanes westwards, which can then make a landfall. So this is the whole study. Then we have another link between hurricanes and La Nina. Now, this is traditional wisdom, this is old knowledge, and La Nina deals with the frequency of hurricanes and not with their direction. This is important. Frequency means the number of hurricanes in a particular hurricane season. So, whenever La Nina happens, frequency increases. So, there's a direct relation between La Nina and hurricane frequency. Direct relation means increase in La Nina would mean increase in number of hurricanes. Please note that frequency has got no link with direction. These two are different. So direction depends on Indian monsoons while frequency depends on La Nina. Now we can easily understand our text. So it says that strong monsoons in the Indian Ocean can induce easterly winds because of more intense high pressure in the North Atlantic. This is the subtropical high pressure. Under this high pressure, easterly winds happen, and these push the Atlantic hurricanes, westwards, thereby increasing the likelihood of making a landfall in the Americas. Simple stuff. Then this discovery, that is this study, will help scientists in better predicting the path of the hurricanes. Until now, predicting path of hurricanes has been a problem, and this study is going to help deal with that. Another variable in the equation is warming climate. So, with increase in global warming, Indian monsoons are going to intensify, and with increase in intensity of Indian monsoons, the Atlantic hurricanes are going to make more landfalls. So, not very good news for the Americas. Then we have how this phenomenon works. So in years where summer rainstorms basically means the monsoons, they are stronger, Atlantic hurricane move further westwards. The other point is that when rains are not very strong, that is monsoons are normal or less than normal, hurricanes tend to curve northward and fizzle out in the North Atlantic Ocean. So we have already seen in the map, and we can draw it again, like the Atlantic Ocean has got an S kind of shape. So we are in the North Atlantic Ocean. So if this is the hurricane, it will simply move north and dissipate and not move towards the west. This is land and the Americas. So not make landfall, will simply move northwards and dissipate. The next point is about the link between subtropical high and the easterly winds. We have already seen that. Then we have the link between La Nina and hurricanes. So all these points are not very important, just generic points, but only the fourth one is what we need to study. La Nina fluctuations mean more Atlantic hurricanes. That means whenever La Nina happens, the frequency of hurricanes in the Atlantic increases. So that will be all in this topic. The next topic is Citizen Science Repository of Indian Mammals. So, citizen science repository means that a particular website will be opened, like a dedicated website for mammals will be opened, and citizens can take pictures of important mammals, rare mammals, and geotag them and upload them. Geotag means the location of the spotting will be required to be entered, and the picture can be then uploaded on the website. So this is basically engaging citizens in enhancing biodiversity knowledge or knowledge related to biodiversity. So government need not spend thousands of crores to do such kind of census. Citizens can be engaged. Citizens can be used for updating such information, and we will see further that many such initiatives have been launched. So the first point is that citizens can share pictures of particular animals on a specific website and will have to geotag them. The next is the repository. The name is Mammals of India Repository, and scientists and researchers from the National Center for Biological Sciences, which is in Bangalore, have come up with this repository. The name of the website is www.mammalsofindia.org, and it will be an online peer-reviewed, freely accessible website. This is the first such repository of mammals. Please note, this is dedicated only to mammals. We have certain other websites also, but this one is for mammals, and this is the first such repository for mammals in India. Now, this is something that can be asked in prelims. Then we have geotagging photograph. We have already discussed about it. And the next is successful photographs. That is, this initiative has led to successful photographs of rare species like red zero, lynx, etc. All these are given here. So this also can be asked in prelims. Then coming to Biodiversity Atlas, the first point says that Mammals of India repository is a part of the Biodiversity Atlas. This atlas is an initiative of Mr. Krishnamegh Kunte, who is an associate professor at this particular organization, and the other websites are about butterflies. Then there are also about moths, about all these things, reptiles, amphibians. So they are given here. So mammals is just an addition to these websites. The next topic is India's first engineless train set to hit tracks. So the name of the train is Train 18, and it has been built by the Integral Coach Factory, which is in Chennai. This is just a prototype, and based on the feedback from this organization, the full form is Research Designs and Standards Organization, subsequent production will be made. This train is 100% make in India. This is important, can be asked in prelims. And lastly, this train is similar to metro trains. All these points are self explanatory. I don't think there is anything to explain. You can go through them yourselves. An important point of bio toilets is there, so please note this one as well. That will be all in this video, guys. Wishing you a very happy Diwali. Please convey my regards to your families as well. Until next time, take care, be safe. Sat Sri Akal.